Hey. Okay, so I'm obviously in the same exact place, about 10 seconds from the end of my last video. I wanted to film this video too because I did it earlier, but my dad was sleeping, so I did it very softly. So I'm gonna do it louder this time. And it's about my favorite books. It is my top list of books. It was really like top 7, but I wanted to do top 10, but then 3 of my favorite books or compilation of stories I do not have. So we're gonna start with the ones I don't have. Actually, let's start with the ones I have. Okay, so we're gonna start with the ones I do have, and then in the middle I will mention ones that I don't have, so it gets, exciting and stuff. So I'm gonna start off with a book that took me 2 to 3 days to read that I had to read for school, but I read it earlier because I was so excited, because I'd heard good things about it. You just peeped the cover, so I may as well show it. It's The Alchemist. This book is that type of book that you start reading and you're like, let me just read a chapter before bed. And then all of a sudden you're like halfway in and you're like, what the fuck? Pardon my French, I curse a lot, sorry. And you're like, what the beep? Pablo Coelho is a genius in the way he articulates his thoughts and ideas. And there are some lines in here that I have underlined that you just read and you're like, this is the kind of shit you put on an inspiration board and the kind of stuff that you use for a close reading for an English class, which is what I did for half this book. For example, it's the simple things in life that are the most extraordinary. Only wise men are able to understand them. Damn right, Paulo. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. Damn right. Oh, love it. The whole book is centered around this idea of your personal legend, which in a way is fate, what you're supposed to be doing. And this line is cool. I was like, yeah, you know what? That's true. When you play cards for the first time, you are almost sure to win. Beginner's luck. Someone says, why is that? And then he says, because there is a force that wants you to realize your personal legend. It whets your appetite with a taste of success. And that's true. That's pretty interesting. That's the mentality behind gambling and a lot of things. But yeah, highly recommend this book. 10 out of 10. These are all 10 out of 10. This book has a lot of things in it that are kind of like, I guess, mystic. Like, okay, alchemy. A lot of people would consider alchemy to be a real thing. A lot of people would say it's a work of imagination and mysticism. So, there you go. I don't usually like books like this. I'm usually a fan of really realistic, kind of like hyper-realistic novels, like people like my fave, Tolstoy. That's my boy. But this is a read. Speaking of Tolstoy, another thing on my list is number 2, not in any particular order, is the works of Tolstoy, particularly his short stories, such as The Death of Ivan Ilyich and Family Happiness. Hyper-realism, as in really giving you a taste of people's lives, their struggles, their thoughts, their concerns, their wishes, and it's just really deep in their heads. Like, you feel like you're living with these people, and you're almost like, hey, maybe I know a little too much, but it's okay, it's just the book. Really amazing, amazing things to analyze. You just read it, and it just makes you think. Like, that's what I like about his novels. They make you think. I wish I could read them in the original language. I could, but I'm at a 3rd grade level reading in Russian, and that's okay. I'll get better, and I will read Tolstoy. Next on the list is a book. I always peep the book while I'm doing this, and now you saw it. So, Letting Anna Go. The introduction was going to be a book about struggle. A book about delving into a dark, dark world and not even noticing that you're drowning. She has anorexia, and it literally is in the form of journal entries, which is kind of cool. And in the beginning of a lot of the entries, she puts her weight. So it starts off before she has anorexia and kind of shows how she develops it and why she develops an eating disorder and the people around her that kind of push her into it unknowingly. But it's cool. Amazing character development. I'm not a fan of, like, depressing books, but I am at the same time. And this is definitely a 10 out of 10 for depressing books. Let's just say a lot of people with eating disorders that have read this book have had their eyes opened as to how easy it is to lose yourself in an eating disorder, how easy it is to actually develop one, how fast you can spiral out of control, and what extent you can get to. So people out there that are suffering with full-blown anorexia, or maybe they're developing an eating disorder, counting their calories, things like that, read this book. It'll open your eyes, and it'll help you a lot. I've known a lot of people that this has helped. I know a lot of people it's triggered, too, so I actually don't really know what to recommend. It's just an amazing book. I don't know. Really deep. Makes you kind of cry. Next, we're going to be talking about another book that makes you cry and is depressing as fuck, and that's Perks of Being a Wallflower. And I read this book in 6 days. I know that because I wrote it down and put it in here because I love this book so much. And it is also in the form of letters. And I think I kind of enjoy things that are from like a hyper first point of view, like journal entries, like letters. This book deals with the the issue of mental illness, and I am fascinated by mental illness. So that's why I like this book so much. The way it is described, in a way, it leaves very little to the imagination, because the way it is described, again, you feel like you know him really, really personally, and I think that's the beauty of this book, is you get really emotionally attached to the main character, even to the other characters. And I read this before I watched the movie, so, like, I didn't already have an image in my head of who was who, so I can definitely attest to the fact that this is a very beautifully written novel, and I recommend it. A little sad, but you also can't put it down, which is why I read it in 6 days. Another book that I don't have with me is Fahrenheit 451. Disclaimer, I do not like dystopian novels. I just don't. I don't know why. I feel like they're all the same. I feel like it's the same twists, the same characters, the same antagonists, the same protagonists, and nothing is different in all of them. It's all the same stuff. Especially ones like Feed, Brave New World, like all of those. Oh, look, technology is taking over the world. Like, okay. It's the same stuff, every book. Not Fahrenheit 451. It is a book in which books are illegal and books are burned by firemen. And this book is about a firefighter in the future who's supposed to burn books, decides to read one, and becomes problematic. Can't say the ending was amazing. Little kind of like, oh, okay, you really rushed it there, buddy, but definitely an amazing read. Well written. I like books that are well written. I will rarely talk about a book that is not well written, because I hate books that are not well written. If there's a grammatical error, I'm upset. Next is a book that is a general favorite as a book and as a movie. But I, again, not in a bragging kind of way, but I read the book before I watched the movie, and it is The Great Gatsby. Friggin' amazing book. Like, you have to admit that if you ever read it, the language is so eloquent, so beautifully articulated, that it just leaves you, like, you gotta, once in a while, you gotta close the book and, like, reread the sentence in your head and be like, I can't believe he described it that way. And you're like, yeah, that's true! It's just one of the most beautiful books I've ever read in my life, and it's one of the best character developments I've ever read in my life, and I'm highly impressed by this book, and I reread it all the time. I'm gonna mention a quote from it that is my favorite quote from a book ever, and it is him describing a telephone ringing during a tense situation as a shrill, metallic urgency. 3 words summed up everything. F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm an F. Scott Fitzgerald hoe. Another book, I don't have it with me, but it is, okay, I know a lot of people don't like Shakespeare, but I do, and here's why. Because he was a freaking genius. The way that he writes his plays, his poetry, is like, bruh, that was amazing. It takes you on a journey. You know, that's why he's so well-renowned. Like, as hard as it is to read Shakespeare, he is popular for a reason. Like, he has some amazing literature out there. My favorite being The Taming of the Shrew. Not only is the story hilarious, it is so funny, the idea is funny, the actual writing is hilarious. If you get past the articulation of it, and the whole, what is that word supposed to mean, and Old English is pretty difficult. Once you get past that and get kind of used to it, oh my god, it's so funny. Like, I literally laughed out loud while reading it. The way things were described, and the way things were, like, I guess the cleverness of it all is what I liked. Next are 2 books by the same author. Okay, I think contemporary novels have largely lost their eloquence, and I don't like that. Contemporary literature has lost its elegance, and that's all I'm going to say. It is great, some great works, some amazing character developments, intricate plot lines, but the elegance is gone. But that is why I like John Green. Even though he is contemporary just like everybody else, I feel like when you read his books, he still has kind of that flair of, that's a nice word, let me throw that in there. Ooh, that sounds like it could be a quote on a wall. Like, he still has that kind of stuff. And I feel like like I said, most contemporary authors don't write like that anymore, but he definitely throws in a bit of a very unique writing style. And I appreciate that, so thanks, John Green. And his books are just great. 2 of my favorites, which are An Abundance of Catherines and Looking for Alaska. I read this book in 5 days. I have it written right here. You know when you just like a book and you can't explain why, but reading it just kind of fills you, like, it kind of makes your soul feel complete? This is one of those books that makes my soul feel complete. After I read it, I feel relaxed. Don't know why, but Looking for Alaska is a 10 out of 10. Absolutely. And the other book, like I said, is An Abundance of Catherines, which is the same writing style as other John Green books, but this one happens to be hilarious. The other ones are, relaxing reads and nice reads, but this one is genuinely funny. Like, you will laugh out loud at so many clever lines that you will be like, this should be a comedy. It's funny. the last book that I will be talking about is an autobiography by my favorite celebrity person of all time, and that is Moonwalk by Michael Jackson. This is his autobiography. I don't have, like, the sleeve that it came in. I keep all my sleeves somewhere else. But, first of all, this man can sing. This man can write music. This man can dance. This man can act. This man can direct and create music videos. He can draw if you see his drawings. And he can freaking write. Like, you know, writing a book, I mean, writing a song or a poem is one thing. Writing a book is another thing. And even though this is an autobiography, it is so beautifully written. And I just think anything he does is beautiful. Like, I'm just one of those MJ fams / moonwalkers. Like this video if you're a moonwalker too, because I feel you. Yeah. But this book is just, I don't know. Like, I just love it. Like, I just think he's amazing. Just everything he does is amazing. Even his autobiography is one of the best things I've ever read in my, aw. He's so cute. I don't know. I just love him. But yeah. 10 out of 10 recommend. And you get a real vibe for what kind of man he was. Not the vibe that the media will give you, but a vibe from the man himself. And I can't say that I've read any good biographies of him that aren't rude. But if you know any, let me know. Because I started the one by J. Randy, Tara Borelli. And I don't like some chapters of it. And I just think it's like, okay, you're definitely a little biased and you don't know your facts. But it's okay. So that is a list of my favorite books. I have literally 10 times more books that I have to read than I have read. Because I buy books, excited to read them, and then I go back to an old book, or I go and play Sims 4 for a couple days, like a binge, because I will be talking about that too. But yeah, these are my favorite books. If y'all know any good realistic fiction, let me know, because that floats my boat. Bye!